Morning, guys. I'm Joe Youngblood with Tradger Farms. I'm a whitetail habitat specialist with Whitetail Habitat Solutions alongside Jeff Sturgis and the gang. Hope you guys are having a good morning. It is 60 degrees out. It's kind of cloudy and overcast. Reminds you of like a perfect morning of being out in the woods in October, which is going to be here before we know it. The soybeans are yellowing. We've all waited quite a long time to get to this point, so very exciting. We finally made it back out here to the farm. We're going to be layering some rye. I don't know if I'd call it layering, I guess, because we're only going to put one seed coat down, if you will. We're only a couple weeks away from the season, and the brassicas and a lot of the other seeds are looking pretty good, which I'll show you here soon. So for me, my deer numbers, my browse pressure, there's not really a reason for me to do a bunch of layering, where sometimes when I'm on a client visit, it might be definitely recommended because the browse pressure is so high, and maybe there's limited places that we can put food, so we really got to kind of fill in those bare spots. Definitely add to our late season food source so that it lasts as long as possible into the season. But things are looking good. You can see kind of our added other plot with our annual screen over there. Doesn't look too bad. It's not super tall. Didn't get things buried very well. It was a busy time. We were doing a lot of the cuttings, if you've been following along with the channel, and our other mast tree plantings and things like that. So shot Dwayne a message this morning. He's going to help me replace a leg on the redneck as well. I'll show you guys. Just a little boo-boo, but not a big deal. Like I said, redneck was able to send me a new leg out, so we'll swap that out and get that situated. I don't know if any of you guys watch Hometown Acres. Gentleman in Pennsylvania, he was an accountant, or he might have quit actually his accountant job. It's not really a hunting channel, but it's more just outdoors. He does some firewood operation stuff and kind of like Outdoors with the Morgans, if you watch them as well. Anyways, he has this buddy, like a neighbor. He calls neighbor Doug, I'm pretty sure. And Doug's very knowledgeable. He's got like equipment and helps Adam with a bunch of things. And it's kind of funny because this morning I was kind of putting that together with myself and Dwayne, one of the local neighbors, electrician and farmer. And he's always helping me and teaching me different stuff that I'm not familiar with and other pieces of equipment and stuff like that. So it kind of cracked me up when Adam would joke and yell for Doug, and then Doug would appear and have to start doing that for Dwayne. But he's a great guy. Anyway, so it's gonna be fun to get out there. I'm gonna start putting some seed down, and I got something else too I want to show you. Dun da da dun. Here she is, guys, getting a little more work done. Got headers up on the doors and things like that. This is going to be the pole barn here, help us with equipment, give us a little cover from rain. Getting dressed in the shed in previous years with a four-wheeler and a lawnmower and stuff in there. I built that by hand with my wife. There wasn't even enough room to get here like in a morning and put your hunting clothes on and stuff with a family member or a buddy or whatever. So just having something like this and storage and security and all that good stuff is going to be amazing. It is a 60 by 40 building, so a pretty good size, at least for my kind of operation. And wanted to kind of keep you guys in the loop on what it looks like, and maybe get your ideas too. I know a ton of you guys have experience with stuff like this, not just being builders, but having a pole building like this and finding things that you really not just enjoy, but adds to the value, whether it be ways to heat it, ways to insulate it, ways to run power, just certain features that you like about it. So I definitely would love your input, things like that. If you have any, feel free to leave them in the comments. This is going to be a 16-foot gap, and then we got a 10-foot door over here, so we can kind of split things up a little bit. And I'm just really liking the size, guys, so I'm excited. Be a nice learning process. We'll pour cement in here when this is all done. I think it's going to be rough framed in by like Wednesday, contractor was thinking. So excited to see how that looks. Get some metal. The trusses on Monday are going to be going up. Yeah. And then hopefully, I know there's some dirt piles and things like that from some of the excavation. Got to move some of the fence and repair that. Hopefully we can kind of move that dirt, or the contractor's open to helping me with that. We got another pile over there. I don't really want them just to sit there. But yeah, so no, I'm super excited. Gonna have 2 doors, just a little porch over there. And I can't wait. Maybe in a future video we can go over cost or do something like that. I know a ton of people are just interested in different areas and what things cost and stuff like that, which I don't really mind. Anyway, so that's nice. I'm gonna grab the 4-wheeler. We're gonna load up some of the rye. We'll get out there, kind of knock this out while it's nice and cool, and we got a nice day where we're not sweating our butt off in 80-degree weather. So let's get going. All right, so the first major issue of the day. Mice have been in the ATV and chewed some of the wires, and it will not start. It's a problem when it's your main mode of transportation and getting seed back there. So we're gonna wait till Dwayne gets here. He's actually gonna come here sooner rather than later to work on the leg of the blind, and maybe I can throw some of the rye in his bucket, and then it'll be a little more work for me to carry it around, but at least I'll get it done and get it out there while I figure out when or how I guess I'm gonna get this into my truck bed at some point to get fixed. I guess thankfully it is gonna be the season, so there's not a bunch of work to do. I can drop it at a shop, but at the same time, even getting a deer out later is gonna be a little more challenging, so that's a bummer. Hopefully it's not a major thing. I'm not sure what really that little component is back here. I'm sure someone watching this probably knows, but whatever that black kind of component on this side with wires coming out of it, these green ones are all chewed up. I've removed a nest out of there previously, if you guys have 4-wheelers, and I put some more traps in here, and I haven't seen as much poop, so I thought they were doing their job. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago this was running. So maybe the traps aren't working as well as I thought they were, even though there definitely seems to be more of a lack of poop, around and in the shed, but a little bit disappointing. The battery does turn on. It will turn on. It just won't, gives a little noise and won't start, like a starter issue or whatever it would be for it to start kicking over. So big bummer, but we will persevere, get it done. Dwayne will be here soon. I think I'll start just pulling stuff out of the truck, organizing the tools that we're gonna need for this, for the blind, and wait till he gets here. So we'll see. All right, guys, so great news. The blind legs are all done, which is awesome. And even better news, check it out. I don't hide anything from you guys, as I always say, and it was a silly mistake. My buddy had ridden this last, helping me out a trip ago, and he had used the kill switch, which I never use. I just use the key. So I did find the wires that I thought were the issue, but those wires must be something to like the winch or something that might not be working. I can get looked at later. So thank God, thanks to Dwayne, he noticed it actually. We got the ATV working. So I'm waiting for the contractor. Gonna run over a couple things with him. And then, like I said, the blind's done. I'll show you actually kind of what it had done, just so you guys know what damage can occur if you're using kind of this machinery. I believe this was a Brown's cutter. It actually goes on a tractor, not a skid steer. But check that out. Very sharp, bent it. There's another one that's bent. And it actually, even just by hitting it, took 3 pretty good sized bolts out of the leg. Like they weren't dangling, they were completely out. So it's crazy to think that it did that. So make sure you don't do that. I gotta tighten up a couple things on it, screw it in, put some stakes in, level it, just make it safe. Still gotta do the rye, but we have the 4-wheeler to use. So a little blessing this week after a lot of other hardship that we won't get into. But yeah, so we got that. And let's go get this rye done. We'll fix a couple cameras. I guess real quick while I have you guys too, the rye, I had a previous video just a few videos ago about layering rye. Those of you that, need that benefit, lack of food, maybe lack of space, extra deer browse, all the benefits that I've gone over in that video. But in addition to that, right, the reason we like to put our food next to each other, as far as like maybe brassica and then our power greens blend, if you just take that concept, is because the deer don't always like one or the other, potentially. You know, maybe they're not used to brassicas. You know, they've been on beans and corn, they're in an ag area for so long. So that means when you get to put these two crops next to each other, like these beans and then maybe brassica was, the deer feed, and we have those running linearly, both sides, then the deer can kind of get used to munching on both and become accustomed to that, just because it's new to them. So it kind of speeds up that process and makes the rest of the plot more palatable. But all of these have different, you know, browse tolerances. It gives diversity and variety for the deer. So that's why it's still a plus to kind of have all these different foods in the soil still. The radishes are helping the ground. We're adding that organic matter, kind of green manure, if you will. So we still have all of these benefits, and then the rye is only going to help. Now, when it comes to the rye, I do like to put the rye on both halves. And again, I'll show you when we get out there. I do not like to waste anyone's time, like Dwayne, when he takes time to come help fix an issue, whatever it is. I want to be quick. He's got other stuff to do. I'm very cognizant of that. So I didn't get any other extra video, but I'll show you where the blind is and go over that. Anyway, I do like to put rye on both halves. Sometimes we talk about, you know, especially with WHS, that, you know, the rye can really mainly go on the peas, you know, the power green side, if you will, that peas, oats, things like that, maybe a little buckwheat, hairy vetch, our normal power greens blend, tillage, a little bit of tillage radish. And that's because really, you know, we'll have the most holes. It's the most kind of candy crop, if you will. So the rye does better on that side. It grows better than the brassicas with the canopy. You might not get as good growth. But where it comes into play is next spring. When that comes up, if you guys are doing a no-till system or anything like that, you want the rye to smother things out, whether you kill it at 8 to 10 inches or you wait till it grows tall, that rye has a nice smother effect. Maybe you're using a drill. So I do like to put the rye on both halves, let it come up anyway. If I happen to have some bare spots in the brassica, that rye will at least fill in there. But the other part besides the winter is that in the spring, I'm gonna have that benefit. And I would like to rent a drill. We've used some other equipment, like Dwayne's and such like that. So just trying new things and having fun. So that's a little bit of by the rhyme and reason of what I'm gonna be doing. All right, guys, got this blind moved back. The mosquitoes are bad. I don't know why, it's almost October. Back to this brushy stuff. It's not super blended in. I understand, I will be working on that. I have a little bit of a backdrop though, but with this didn't get cleared until the end of summer. And then you can see our food plot is right out there. It looks a little farther probably with the camera, but it's really gonna only be, you know, out to 30, I'd say 30, maybe a little bit more to the far side of the plot. But the other reason I wanted to show you this, not just because I do like to be a little bit off of the food plot to our blind, give the deer a little more room, but if we access behind our blind this way, and I kind of got an island of trees and some switchgrass on both sides, I wanted to be a little bit closer to my access because it takes away some of the wiggle room for my scent. If I'm blowing my scent that way back towards my access and the deer come around this island and go this way for this, you know, shot, then I noticed, like if you saw the video for my dad's first ever deer, it was out of this blind actually. I'll link it here on the screen, but it was very hot. He was in shorts, and sometimes the deer, they'd start to catch us in our scent. And thankfully, it was a little bit before the season actually started. It was for the early antlerless season that we did that. But you know, we'd be in between our access and kind of where these deer were coming around, even if they were coming from my property. They'd come around this island, then they would catch our scent and start to get very skittish about coming to the food plot. So by moving our blind back, I now have a bigger gap and more room to keep our scent that way, to keep these deer in front of us, to hopefully come out to the food plot without any issue. Did a little leveling. It was one of these legs that we replaced. It's not perfect, but it's good. I again, of course, opened my door here a few weeks after the last adventure, and again, I saw another wasp and another mouse hut with a mouse face right in the hole. So I put the ladder on. I'm gonna put some of our safety stuff. I put these posts in. I'm gonna screw that center bracket in for any high wind days. I don't have to go get a shovel, maybe some spray, and make sure this blind is good, hopefully one last time. So it just seems like one thing after another on one of the last remaining trips before the season. I think I've added more to the list than I have subtracted. So blind looking decent. I will come back and do that. Let's go take a look at the plot and get going on this rye as the day moves along.